Salutations and fist bumps, folks. Welcome back to The Grid. This video is all about what you need to know in terms of the Marvels before you hit the theater. So we know that the Marvels will bring back Carol Danvers as Captain Marvel, Ms.Marvel, Kamala Khan, and Monica Rambeau. And we also know that the Skrulls have now been uncovered on Earth, and Fury and Vara are back on Saber at this point. So now with the Marvels hitting theaters this weekend, it's only right that we spend some time understanding how the heck we got here. Plus, a bit of explanation on the multiverse and timeline situation because Wanda. So without further ado, let's ride. It's only right that we start with the duo that brought us into this crazy Marvels world, Nick Fury and Carol Danvers, which also introduces the Skrulls. So we're going to pick up with this story in a beautiful world of 1995, where Michael Jordan had just come back to basketball to the NBA from baseball. Mississippi became the last state to abolish slavery on paper, and the great Selena was taken away from us by her own fan club president. It be your own people. But this is when Carol Danvers and Nick Fury actually meet, because Carol actually crash lands into a blockbuster on Earth, or more specifically after a Kree-Skrull battle, which sends her ship hurling towards Earth, which then she crash lands into a blockbuster, which, by the way, blockbuster was a time. You had to be there. She then encounters a guy by the name of Nick Fury, who goes by Fury.
Not Nicholas, not Joseph, not Nick, just Fury.
And he is working with a special task force known as S.H.I.E.L.D. He originally believes that she is one of the bad alien guys until he encounters an actual one in his own car, which then sends them all over the United States on a wild goose chase for the new threat to Earth, the Skrulls, which are beings that can shapeshift into other forms or other life forms that they come into contact with. And they are looking for a power source for the Kree, which is known as the Lightspeed engine, which actually happens to be powered by the Tesseract. And in their travels across the United States, they reunite with Carol's partner in crime, Monica Rambeau, whom she met in the Air Force, where she learned to fly aircrafts. And we find out that Maria has a daughter whose name is Monica. All right, now I ain't gonna even draw this out, bruh. Fist bump the like button for me. You know how this works at this point. And if you're picking up what I'm putting down inside this video in terms of what you need to know before you go see the movie, share this with your people. More on her in just a bit. But the Lightspeed engine is known to be on a base called Pegasus. And on their search inside of the military base for intel about Pegasus, they run into Talos, whom we later find out has a family along with a host of other Skrulls who are now nomads because of the Kree-Skrull war. He later then tells her that they need to find a new home. So now that we have the major players out in the open, we need to speed things along just a little bit to the mid-end of Captain Marvel, because this
is a speedrun.
So the Kree leader comes looking for Carol after she pledges to find them a new home, after learning that she herself was from Earth. Then battle, fight, and a ship blows up, and that's where we learn where Carol gets her powers. The Kree lose, the Skrulls are now on Earth, and Fury is giving a upgraded pager to talk to space, while Carol is now flying around the galaxy looking for the Skrulls a new home, which actually ends up being Earth. Oh, and the Avengers initiative was put to paper. And then the Avengers were created with the help of the Skrulls. They fight the battle in New York against Loki, and then against Ultron, which actually has them blowing up an entire section of the world off the face of the map, and then Thanos, which introduces the blip, and is also where Fury dropped said pager from earlier after dusting, and also where Kamala Khan was influenced to superhero life because of what she saw from the Avengers. 5 years then go by, and the Avengers bring everyone back, and Fury heads to Saber. But also included in that bringing everyone back was Monica Rambeau. Told you I'd come back to her, who is then reintroduced to the world after a 5-year period, which she now understands that her mother is now deceased, and the world that she used to know is completely upside down.
Your mom, she died, honey. What?
Monica, though, is an agent, a part of SWORD, the agency in the MCU responsible for defending against space and extraterrestrial attacks, which is, by the way, the second agency inside of the MCU that we see after S.H.I.E.L.D. And Monica works with Jimmy Woo, who is found inside of the Ant-Man series, and Darcy Lewis, who was first originally seen inside of Thor. And while working a case about a strange pop-up town called Westview, she goes through a created force field by Wanda known as the Hex, and she travels through it so many times that her human makeup is actually literally changed at the molecular level, which then gives her photoblast powers, which is also a slight nod to her other name inside of the comics, Photon. And as she interacts with Wanda, she slowly starts to uncover her powers, helping her to understand that she can actually slow down matter, which she ultimately uses to help save Wanda's children. And she is then brought into a theater where a scroll says that a certain someone wants to meet with her, that person being Fury. So she is then beamed up to space, which is what we saw in the original Marvel's trailer. And as we look back down toward Earth, we set our sights on Kamala Khan, a Pakistani girl from Jersey City, New Jersey. She is a Captain Marvel superfan who actually has her own YouTube channel about Captain Marvel. Talk about meta. And she gets access to an old bangle, which the original purpose of the bangle was to give a group called the Clandestines the ability to tear the veil of Noor, giving them access to their home planet. But the bangle was actually sent to Kamala by her grandmother, and said bangle was actually a part of a set. It was originally in the possession of her great-grandmother, Aisha, who was a being from the Noor dimension, and she was exiled into the Earth plane. While trying to make a train during the partition of 1947, she was not able to make said train because a former teammate of hers saw her out for the bangle, killing her for it. And after teaming up with Valid and the Red Daggers, Camilla then time travels back to her great-grandmother. As Aisha is dying, Camilla comes to her great-grandmother, getting instructions to make sure that her grandmother makes it to the train, and she uses the bangle to carry on that legacy, which then gets her grandmother to her great-grandfather on the train, which is, by the way, the first time she sees her grandmother as a child use her own powers. And she then realizes that she had a hand in her entire family's timeline, which, now being where we are with Loki, the time travel / time slipping that Camilla does in these moments could be viewed as similar, because in both cases, time slipping has a way to help uncover clues about what will or will not happen in the future in terms of a specific timeline, and also keep this nugget in mind when you head into the theater. The second bangle was shown on a blue severed hand inside of Ms.Marvel's series, which means it could be in the possession of the Kree. And at present, the Marvel's main villain is very tightly associated with the Kree and the Ronin. So this could play a significant role. How much, we have to see inside of the actual movie. And though in the comics she would be known as an Inhuman, similar to Black Bolt, in the MCU she gets her powers from those bangles. So if the Kree do have access to them, that may present a potential conflict going forward inside of this movie and the MCU. And her power? An isomorphic type of shapeshifting that allows her to create objects literally from nothing, and also giving her the ability to create short photon blasts with her arm. And she also has the power to embiggen, which, by the way, may be helpful in future fights. And she is the MCU's first confirmed mutant, ahead of all of the X-Men and bringing all of the Fox stuff and all that kind of stuff. She's before all of that, if we are considering this moment a part of that MCU history.
Like a mutation.
And Camilla and Carol have done their own time slipping of sorts between each other, which is what we saw at the end of Ms. Marvel and what we also have been seeing inside of the trailers. So my theory hamster wheel got to spinning, and here's what we've come to. Is what we see in the post-credit scene of Ms. Marvel the result of a timeline that no longer exists? And with the common similarity between the three of them being photon energy, could that be a sort of temporal aura that only they can latch onto? Because the appearance of Loki's time slipping and what Carol Danvers experiences inside of the Ms. Marvel post-credit scene seems strikingly similar. So through the retroactive nature of the MCU, could this have been an early indicator that the timeline was about to explode? And now, with all that in mind,